Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hi, hello, how are you? How is it going? How have you been? Today is actually the 4th of July and I had some free time to finally put together a template that many people have been asking me for. I share this kind of a workspace a lot as a personal fun Notion use in interviews that I do and just general like Notion chit chat. And I figured it was finally time to turn it into a template and give it to you. You may or may not know about me that I love to cook. Every time my business is not doing great, I'm always like, you know what? I think I'm gonna finally go to culinary school. And so I cook consistently. I love to cook from scratch. I love making pastas and sauces and breads. But, thinking about kind of all of the decisions I have to make every single day as freelancer, entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever, my partner and I both own businesses, our own business. And so one thing, especially during COVID, that's been excruciatingly hard is consistently coming up with, what do I make for dinner? What do we eat for dinner? What do you have a taste for? And so this recipe book workspace in Notion has been really handy for us because it will auto suggest recipes for me to make based on the last time that I made it. And so I'm gonna walk you through how to add recipes, how to utilize that. So all that to be said, no matter what level of Notion use you are, this is not a crazy built out template. It really is like 3 filters that make it usable. So let's dive in. The link to duplicate this template is down below if you want it for yourself. And of course, any questions that you have, feel free to shoot me a DM or comment down below. All right, so diving right in, we have 3 filtered views here. So the first is going to be your quote unquote meal prep, and that's just going to be the calendar to help you really, honestly, like pick your meals and decide what you're going to cook for dinner, what you need to go to the grocery store, or, make sure you have at home to make. And then you have the secondary view, which is going to be your suggested recipes. Now, this is going to solely build off of if you're using the meal prep calendar, and there's one specific property we'll go through that if you add a date into the meal prep, it will then auto calculate when it suggests. So we'll come back to this in a little while. And then you have your general recipe book. So this is going to be everything categorized by the type of meal. So desserts, breakfast, pastries, dinner, etc. And then there's a subcategory in here for the flavor or style of the dish. So if we come in here and just look at the sandwich bread recipe. And so I saved a few recipes in here for you that I have made and I thoroughly enjoy. So feel free to try them out yourself. No matter what your skill level is, anybody, as we know from the movie Ratatouille, anybody can be a chef.
Your only limit is your soul. What I say is true. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great.
Okay, so within here we have several properties that are going to be really useful to you. So the first is going to be your style. So again, flavor palette. Is it Indian? Is it Chinese? Is it Southern? Is it Thai, right? And then we have kind of a general. So sandwich bread is more of a general recipe, right? It's not necessarily Southern. It's not necessarily Thai. It's just bread, okay? So you can definitely utilize the general for things that you're like not really sure where they go. And then we have our course. So again, breads, breakfast, dinner. Now you'll notice that there is a tag that says new, and that is going to be if you are going to automate using Zapier from Pinterest. I'm going to show you that in a little while. And then of course, if there's a main protein, cook time. So we're all freaking busy, right? So if you have limited time and you don't want to spend 3 hours cooking a dish, cook time and adding in that data is going to be really important for you to say, okay, this is a 30-minute meal. This is an hour meal. This is something that goes in the Dutch oven or the crock pot. It's going to take all day to cook. And so keeping those in mind as you're kind of going through your meal plan, I have found to be very helpful. So if we are cooking, the sandwich bread today, obviously that's kind of a weird one because it's just an odd and end recipe, but it will show up now now under meal prep that we are going to cook that today for dinner. And then it's going to start the 30-minute count or the 30-day countdown to become a newly suggested recipe. And then you have the recipe link, any cook notes. So there's a few other things in here like your recipe description. So again, that goes along with Pinterest. We have on the front, we have a formula for the cooking card. So you can see within your meal prep how long it takes. So as you can see here, it says cook time 2.5 hours. Anything, as you guys know in Notion, the property never shows up. It only is what is as the property. And so I like to add these little formulas in here to give context to what the property is. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just a concat formula. You can ignore it. It's hidden. You shouldn't have to mess with it unless you, I guess, don't want it. And then obviously the photo is in the body of the page, which auto-populates to being the front of the card. But let's go into suggested recipes. So this is really where that magic comes into play of helping with decision fatigue on what to cook for dinner every single night. So how this is set up is it is just a simple filter here. So the meal prep date has to be on or before a month ago, and then the rating is not trash. And I don't think we talked about the rating, but you can then rate your recipes by, 1 to 5. So let's say you found a recipe on Pinterest, you're like, oh my God, this looks so good, I want to try this, and then you make it and it's trash. I've had so many recipes that has happened to me, and so I do like to rate recipes in here. And what I normally do is anything that has a 1 star, depending on what it is, I will just delete it out of here, or I'll give it another try if I'm feeling adventurous. But that's kind of how I use rating to keep my recipe book cleaned out. So within here, like I mentioned, as long as the recipe was cooked a month ago or longer, it will auto suggest these for you. So under the salmon curry, if I said I didn't make it since May 30th, that is why it is populating here under meal prep. So this is really to bring new flavors into your recipes, really kind of say, oh, remember that one recipe you made forever ago and you loved it? Let's make that again, to really just keep the excitement going. So you're not just like eating spaghetti every week, right? You're actually really saying, okay, I really have a taste for Asian. Let me see what it's going to suggest. Now, obviously, as you download this template out and you start using it, it's going to take a little bit for these suggested recipes to populate. But if you have recipes you're already consistently cooking that you have saved on Pinterest, pop them in here and just put the last date that you cooked it, even if it's a month ago, just to get this going. Okay, so the second part to setting up your recipe book from Pinterest, if you are using Pinterest, is a little not fun because Notion currently does not support adding a data point into the files and media property. And so unfortunately, there's a little bit of a workaround that you have to do. And also Pinterest is a premium Zapier app. And so if you're not currently paying for Zapier, you can't actually use that. That's why I'm adding this to the end of the video, because you may or may not be able to use it. So obviously, first trigger that we want is a new pin to our Pinterest account. And what board are we pulling it from? Let's go ahead and do a test. We're gonna pull the pin about linguine with spinach and sun-dried tomato. Oh God, that sounds so good. Okay, so now we want to create our database item. Now we're going to add the title of the pin into the recipe property. We're going to put the link of the actual recipe into the recipe link, recipe description, the photo. Now this is where the frustrating part with the Notion API comes into play, is that you cannot add in a file and media property file. And additionally, if we were to put this image medium URL into the content of the page, it will not actually embed the image, it will only put the link. And so there is going to be a little bit of work that you're gonna have to do, but it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. So sorry. Hopefully the feature will get figured out soon. And then what we want to do under course is tag it as a new recipe, because that means we have not gone through it, we haven't categorized it, because we can't actually pull that data from a pin of, is it a dinner recipe or a breakfast recipe? It's just not possible. And then lastly, we will want to click continue, and we're going to test the database item. So let me go back into here. We're gonna go into our recipe book and you will now see that it's been added. But of course, there's no cover photo. So what we wanna do is copy this photo that's been added, and we're gonna simply paste it into the body and click embed image. And so now you'll see that the photo has populated. So we'll say that this is Italian. I think, yeah, there's no protein in this. The cooking, let's see. This says it's a 30-minute dish. So we'll type in 0.5 because we want it in hours. And then let's say we're gonna cook this on Friday. Maybe it's a date night. And so now if we go into our meal prep, you'll see that it is showing that we're gonna make that on Friday. That is using the recipe book template. So let me know what questions you have. Shoot me a DM. Let me know how incredible this is for you hating deciding what to cook for dinner every day. And I will see you in my next video.